Hello guys, you're on the Stolen Audio Diaries. Subscribe and like.
Started like any other day. A gray, chilly Tuesday in Chicago early spring. The kind of morning where the sun doesn't really rise so much as softly fade into the clouds. The streets were quiet, wet with overnight rain, and the apartment smelled faintly of Jenna's lavender shampoo and the dark roast coffee I'd just brewed. She was pacing in the bedroom, heels clicking on the hardwood floor, flipping through her suitcase and talking to herself about flight times and presentation folders. I was half awake at the kitchen table, still in pajama pants, nursing a cup of coffee that was already going cold. My mind was on work, specifically a contract proposal I needed to polish before a 3 p.m. client call. I remembered that I had saved some important drafts to a flash drive a few weeks back, then handed it to Jenna to keep in her work bag while we were reorganizing the office. "Hey!" I called toward the bedroom. "Remember that little blue flash drive I gave you? The one I said not to lose because it had the finance files on it." "Yeah," she said quickly. "Should still be in my backpack. Front pocket." I got up and walked over to her bag. It was leaning against the couch, still unzipped from the night before. She must have gone through it looking for something earlier. I reached into the front pocket, rummaging past a pack of gum, a half-used lipstick, and a folded receipt from a sushi place I didn't recognize. And there it was. Same blue casing, a little chipped at the edge, with a faded label that once read, "Alex, Backup." I felt a weird satisfaction just finding it, like the day was finally about to fall into place. I slid it into my pocket, kissed her goodbye as she grabbed her suitcase, and watched her rush out the door, her voice trailing off with something about a layover in Philly and a possible hotel change. I didn't catch all of it. I was already back at the table, opening my laptop and plugging the drive in. At first, it took a moment to register. Instead of seeing my usual folders, budget drafts, client notes, maybe a spreadsheet or two, I saw a list of file names I didn't recognize. The formatting was different, clean, organized, but not in a way I would have done it. Folders labeled with names, dates, hotel codes. At first, I thought it was work stuff, maybe something she backed up by mistake. She's in consulting and her firm works with contractors all over the country, so I assumed these were maybe vendor reports or meeting logs. But curiosity got the better of me. I clicked on one folder labeled DTLA February. Inside were 4 video files. I hovered my mouse over the first one, hesitating. Just a peek, I thought, just to make sure it wasn't something confidential or private before I copied over my own work. The screen flickered for a second, then opened the media player. And everything changed. It was Jenna, in a hotel room I didn't recognize, wearing a dress I'd never seen before. She was laughing, brushing her hair back from her face in a way I knew all too well. But she wasn't alone. A man stepped into frame, tall, bearded. He wrapped his arms around her waist. She didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned into him, whispered something I couldn't hear, and then kissed him. I stared at the screen, frozen. At first, my brain rejected it. I literally thought, for a split second, that maybe it was a deepfake, some kind of twisted prank or experimental film. But the more I watched, the familiar way she moved, the way she glanced up at him, the small scar on her shoulder I knew from years of being together, it became undeniable. It was her. And it wasn't just that video. I opened another folder, Home, November. This time it was our living room, our couch, our throw blanket in the corner. Same woman, different man, same betrayal. The videos kept coming. Click, another man, another date, another hotel, parking garage, our bedroom. My hands were trembling by the time I closed the window. I didn't even know how many I had watched. Everything started to blur. My ears were ringing. I just sat there for a while, not even breathing properly. Felt like my lungs had forgotten how. I'd always believed that when betrayal hit, you'd feel rage. A need to break something. Yell. Punch a wall. But in that moment there was none of that. Just stillness. Like everything inside me folded in on itself at once. All I could think about was how normal that morning had felt. How Jenna had smiled at me as she zipped her suitcase. How she'd asked if I could water her plants while she was gone. I looked at the flash drive still plugged into my laptop. I didn't pull it out right away. I just stared at it like it was still capable of burning through the USB port. Eventually, I copied the contents into a new folder on my desktop. Titled it Archive. Not sure why. Maybe because I already knew. I couldn't unsee what I'd seen. And that the life I thought I had, it was already over. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't eat, didn't move much. Just sat on the edge of our bed, in the dark, staring at the glow of my laptop screen as it lit up the corner of the room. The folder Archive was still open. I hadn't clicked back into it, but I didn't close it either. It was like the air in the apartment changed. Thicker, heavier, and somehow colder despite the radiators working overtime. I wrapped a blanket around my shoulders at one point and just sat there, trying to breathe through whatever the hell was happening inside my chest. I remember watching the rain hit the window, thinking how stupid it was that I'd made her coffee that morning. How I'd kissed her goodbye without suspecting a thing. It was like I'd been living in a different reality entirely, and suddenly, I'd been dropped into the truth without warning. The panic didn't come all at once. Crept in, slowly at first, like an itch in the back of my mind. A little voice whispering it wasn't just one time. There's more. So I clicked. I watched another clip, then another, each one like a punch to the chest, but not because of what was happening on screen. That part? That was just noise. Visual confirmation of what I already knew. What got me were the timestamps. A Tuesday in November. The same week she told me she was pulling late nights to prepare for a client summit. I remember texting her at 9 p.m. that night, asking if she needed me to bring her dinner. She said, "No, I already grabbed something with coworkers. Don't wait up. Love you." Another one early January. Our anniversary week. She had told me she was flying to Seattle for a last-minute onboarding. I'd spent the weekend alone, ordered Thai food, and watched a movie we had once seen on our first date. I even texted her a picture of the takeout, saying I was missing her. She sent back a heart emoji and said she couldn't wait to be home. But there she was, in some low-lit hotel room, with someone else. Same smile, same laugh, different man. The betrayal didn't feel sharp. It wasn't fire. It was frost. Slow, paralyzing cold creeping in and locking everything up. It was the kind of betrayal that doesn't scream. It stares you in the face with a calm, steady silence that says, "She's been gone for longer than you realized. You just didn't want to know." I sat back in my chair and stared up at the ceiling. My mind was spinning, but my body felt numb. And then the memories started. The first was subtle, how she used to leave her phone face up on the table, and now it was always screen down. Then another, last October when I kissed her and she pulled away like she'd been caught off guard. She laughed it off, saying she was distracted by work. I believed her. Or that one night when she came home late and smelled like cologne. Not mine. Something musky and sweet. I joked about it. "Got a new boyfriend I should know about?" She laughed. I laughed. But now I remembered. She didn't answer. And all those times she said she was tired. Said she wasn't in the mood. How she flinched when I reached for her in bed. The quick text replies that stopped. The trips. The wardrobe changes. The new perfume. The gym membership she never used before. Each little moment was like a puzzle piece clicking into place, and the picture it formed made me sick. She'd left me a long time ago. She was just too polite or too cowardly to actually walk out the door. I wanted to feel anger. I really did. I wanted to flip the table, scream, throw something, demand answers. But I couldn't. I didn't say a word. Instead, I created a new folder on my desktop. Evidence. I moved each video in one by one. Organized by date. I started jotting down notes. Times, patterns, locations. I found myself building a case. Not because I was trying to hurt her, but because I needed to understand what had happened to my life. I needed facts. Something solid. Something that didn't lie or manipulate or smile while stabbing me in the back. At some point around 4 a.m., I walked into the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked normal, a little tired, hair messy, but not broken, not shattered, just stunned. like someone who had stepped into a parallel version of their life without realizing it. I washed my face, changed my clothes, sat back down at the computer. I watched one last clip, just to remind myself this wasn't a dream, and closed the folder. I didn't text her, didn't call, didn't scream, didn't cry. I just sat there, calm and quiet, with everything I'd ever known laid out in a neat series of folders and file names. And one truth echoing over and over in my head. This didn't start yesterday. It started months ago, maybe even years. And the worst part? I think I knew. I just didn't want to see it. The next morning, I couldn't keep my hands steady. I told my boss I wasn't feeling well and left the office around noon. I don't even remember what excuse I gave. Something about food poisoning or a migraine. He didn't ask questions. I guess I didn't need to sound convincing. I probably looked as wrecked as I felt. The drive home was quiet. No music. Just the hum of the tires and the occasional chirp of a turn signal. I remember stopping at a red light and staring at the couple in the car next to me, laughing about something on their phone. It hit me how quickly everything can change. One moment you're laughing with someone. The next you're a stranger in your own life. When I pulled into our driveway, something felt wrong. It was subtle at first. Just this weird sensation in my gut, like walking into a room and sensing you're not alone. I noticed the front door wasn't fully shut, just slightly ajar. That door always clicks shut. I even installed a new hinge last year because it used to stick. I walked up slowly, my breath catching without me even realizing it. Maybe I left it open this morning. Maybe she came home early. Maybe it's nothing. But it wasn't nothing. When I stepped inside, it was dead silent. No footsteps, no voices, no music. The kind of silence that swells and swallows you whole. I set my keys down on the table as quietly as I could, then walked down the hall toward the bedroom. The door was open just a crack. I pushed gently, and there she was, Jenna, my wife, sitting on the edge of our bed, wearing the same silk blouse she packed for her trip, hair down, makeup smudged just slightly, like she hadn't expected anyone home yet. Sitting next to her was a man I didn't recognize. Mid-30s, athletic build, shirt half-buttoned, no shoes. They both froze when they saw me, and I didn't move, didn't say a word, just stood there. I wasn't angry, I wasn't sad, I wasn't even surprised. I just looked at them, at the way she stiffened and glanced down, the way he shifted awkwardly, like maybe he'd try to explain or apologize. But no one said anything. The air was thick with something unspoken. Like all three of us knew this wasn't the first time. Just the first time it got caught in daylight. I held her gaze for maybe 5 seconds. Then turned. Walked out the way I came in. Closed the front door behind me. Slow and quiet. Like I was afraid of waking someone. I got into my car and just sat there. I didn't drive off. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat in silence, staring out the windshield at nothing in particular. The dashboard clock ticked forward. 12:43. 12:57. 1:11. That feeling? It wasn't pain anymore. It was weightlessness. Like I was no longer anchored to anything. Not the house, not her, not the life we'd built together. I could have floated out of my own body right then, and I don't think I'd have noticed. When I finally started the engine and pulled away, I didn't have a plan. But I knew I needed one. That night, after driving around the city for hours, I parked 2 blocks from our place and walked the rest of the way back. The lights were off inside. Her car was gone. I assumed he was too. Maybe she went back to whatever hotel they used to meet in before she got careless. I sat down at my desk and reopened the evidence folder. Now it wasn't just about the videos. Now I had confirmation. In person. Physical. Immediate. I backed everything up onto a second drive, this time with a password. I renamed the folder to something innocuous. Taxes_2022. Dragged it into a hidden system directory. Just in case. I started writing down everything I remembered. The shifts in her schedule. The nights she worked late. Every vague excuse. Every unexplained trip. I was building a timeline. It wasn't for revenge. It was clarity. Control. If I couldn't undo what happened, I could at least understand it. That night, I didn't go to bed. I made myself coffee at 2 a.m., sat on the balcony wrapped in a hoodie, listening to the wind. I thought about how long she must have been living a double life. How led she was at smiling, lying, laughing like nothing was wrong, and how easy it was for me to believe her. The next morning, she texted me, "Where are you? Can we talk?" I didn't respond. I knew what came next. The denial, the fake shock, maybe a few tears, excuses, half apologies, gaslighting, pleading. But the part she didn't know? I was already gone. Not physically, not yet, but emotionally, mentally. The man she married had left the room the moment she looked up and saw me standing in that doorway. I didn't hear from her the rest of that night. No calls, no knocking at the door, just silence. I guess she wasn't sure what I'd seen, or how much. Maybe she thought she could still spin it. Maybe the guy she was with convinced her to stay quiet, wait it out. Maybe she was just ashamed. But the point is, she didn't come back. And I didn't go looking for her. I woke up the next morning still sitting in my desk chair, the imprint of the armrest pressed into my skin. The coffee I'd poured hours ago was stone cold. I poured it down the sink without even tasting it. And that was the first time I felt it. Clarity. Not peace. Not yet. But a strange, cold stillness. Like the fog had finally lifted and I could see every crack, every lie, every moment I should have paid more attention to. And for the first time in days, maybe weeks, I wasn't panicking. I was planning. I showered, got dressed, packed up my laptop and headed out to a quiet corner cafe across town where no one would recognize me. I ordered black coffee and sat by the window, pulled out the flash drive, the one that started all of this, and plugged it into my laptop. There were still videos I hadn't watched, folders I hadn't opened. I'd only scratched the surface. I wasn't sure why I did it. Curiosity, closure, maybe I wanted to understand the scope. How far back this went. How many men? How many lies? I clicked. The first one was from 8 months ago. Jenna in what looked like a rental apartment. Dim lighting, clinking glasses. The guy filming her laughed. She kissed him. She looked comfortable, familiar. It wasn't rushed or frantic like I expected an affair to be. It looked lived in, routine. I clicked another. A car. Passenger seat. She was laughing at something off-screen. Then she said it. "You always make me feel safe." Her voice was soft. Mate. The way she used to talk to me. Another. Our living room. Our couch. Our throw pillows. I paused the video and stared at the frame for a long time. That was the worst one. Not because of what was happening, but because of where. The place where we used to binge-watch shows. Where we opened Christmas presents. Where she cried in my arms the day her dad passed away. She brought someone else there. That was intentional. And that's when it finally clicked. This wasn't a one-time thing. Or two. Or even three. This wasn't a mistake. It was a lifestyle. By the time I finished watching, I'd counted 3 different men. Maybe 4. Hard to tell. Sometimes faces were out of frame, voices muffled. But the dates, the timestamps, they overlapped. She wasn't just cheating. She was maintaining parallel lives. I closed the laptop, sat back, and watched the steam rise from my fresh coffee. And I knew what I had to do. I encrypted the folder, backed it up twice. One copy on an external drive hidden in a fireproof box. Another stored on a secure cloud account she didn't know existed. I changed all my passwords, email, banking, cloud storage, even the damn Netflix login. Then I opened a private document and started organizing everything. Dates, file names, locations, even notes on her behavior those weeks. It read like a case file. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't spiral. I worked. I didn't recognize the man I was becoming. But I liked him. Focused. Steady. Unshaken. This wasn't about revenge. Not anymore. That temptation had passed. This was about truth. About finally ending the lie we'd both been living. Her knowingly, me unknowingly. When I got home later that evening, I sat in the dark for a while. Just me, Tyler, our dog, and the soft hum of the fridge in the kitchen. Tyler curled up next to me like he knew something was wrong. He always sensed things. I looked at the wedding photo still hanging on the wall. Us on a beach in Mexico, smiling, tanned, arms around each other. We looked like the kind of couple people envied. I walked over, took it down and set it face down on the table. Then I grabbed a notebook and started writing out what I wanted from the divorce. Half the house, the car, full custody of Tyler, clean break, no theatrics. The truth had already spoken for itself. That night I didn't sleep again. But it wasn't restlessness. It wasn't pain. It was control. I stayed up, rechecking every file, every note, every backup. I knew the next few days would be hard. She'd come back. She'd pretend to be confused. She'd cry, maybe scream. She'd try to flip the script, turn it on me. But I wouldn't budge, because I had everything I needed. I wasn't walking into a confrontation. I was walking into closure. She came home 2 days later. No warning. No text. Just the jingle of her keys in the lock around 6:30 p.m. I was in the kitchen frying eggs. I didn't flinch. Didn't turn to look. Just kept flipping yolks while the sound of the front door creaking open stretched through the apartment like a warning bell. "Alex?" She called out casual. Like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't seen her with another man. Like I hadn't seen all of it. I didn't respond. She walked into the kitchen, heels clicking, suitcase rolling behind her. She had her hair tied up, her makeup was perfect, and her voice, when she spoke again, was light, calculated. "Hey, you're home early." I turned the burner off, slid the eggs onto a plate, and looked at her. Not angry, not confused, just done. She froze. And that's when she saw the envelope on the counter. She looked at it like it was radioactive. Slowly, she reached out and pulled it closer. Her fingers trembled. Not a lot, just enough for me to notice. She didn't ask what it was. She already knew. Her eyes scanned the first page, and that's when it started. Her face changed. The blood drained from her cheeks. Her lips parted, then shut, then parted again. "You're divorcing me?" I didn't answer. I just nodded once, calmly, then took a sip of my water. "Alex," she said, voice sharp. "What the hell is this?" "You tell me," I replied quietly. Her mouth opened again, probably to start denying, backpedaling, pretending. But then she stopped herself. She must have seen it in my eyes that I wasn't guessing, that I knew. She stepped back, defensiveness rising. "This is insane. You're just what? Throwing everything away without even talking to me." That's when the first shift hit. From fear to offense. "You're really gonna do this?" she asked, her voice rising. "After everything we've built? After everything I gave to this marriage?" I took another sip. "I saw the videos, Jenna." Silence. A solid 10 seconds of it. Then came the second shift, rage. "What the hell were you doing going through my stuff?" she snapped. "That was my personal. On my flash drive?" I cut in, voice steady. "The one I gave you to hold on to?" Her mouth moved, but no words came out. Just this quiet, panic stammer. Then her face twisted again, this time into something colder. "You're unbelievable," she muttered. "You're just gonna sit there like some pathetic little victim? Like you didn't play a part in this." And there it was. The third shift. Blame. "You've been emotionally dead for years," she spat. "I've tried. God, I've tried. But you're just so cold. Always in your head. Always working. Always needing things to be perfect." I was drowning. I looked at her, but I didn't flinch. I didn't yell. Didn't argue. I let her vent. Let her burn. She waited for me to push back. To fight. To give her something, anything. She could twist into a reason to claim I was unstable, impulsive, unfair. But I stayed silent. Just stared at her. And that silence terrified her. She paused, breathing heavy, then softened, her tone dropping. "Alex, look, I know I messed up. Okay? I didn't mean for it to go this far. It wasn't like I planned it. I was lonely. I felt like you didn't even see me anymore." I waited. She took a step closer. "I still love you. I do. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. We can. You don't cheat on someone you love, I said, calm, clear. But it wasn't. It wasn't one time. She blinked. It wasn't even one guy, I continued. You didn't get lost. You left. You just didn't bother saying goodbye. She looked like I'd slapped her. And for a moment, I almost expected her to cry, to crumple. But she didn't. Instead, she stood up straighter, crossed her arms, hardened. Fine, she snapped. You want a divorce? You'll get one. But don't think you're walking away clean. I've given years to this marriage. I gave up job offers, friendships, vacations. I built this life too. And if you think you can throw me out like garbage, you're wrong. I stared at her. You already threw yourself out, Jenna, I said. You just didn't notice when the door closed behind you. That shut her up. She grabbed the envelope, stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door behind her. I stood in the kitchen for a while, plate untouched. Tyler trotted in a few minutes later, tail low, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. I knelt down and scratched behind his ears. We're gonna be okay, buddy, I said softly. She just doesn't know it yet. For the next week, Jenna unraveled. One minute she was texting apologies, the next, veiled threats. She said she'd take Tyler, ruin my name, claim emotional abuse. A note appeared in my mailbox. If you leave now, you'll never come back. I didn't reply. I'd already left, just not physically. In court, I handed over the evidence drive. When her voice played from one of the recordings, soft, breathy, and asterisk mate. She went pale, shaking. That was the moment it hit her. She didn't control the narrative anymore. It was over. Fully, finally over. After that, the letters came. Pages of emotional whiplash. Blame, guilt, nostalgia. You were too perfect. I felt invisible. Then, you broke me. Finally, I still love you, but you're no longer mine. I know that now. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Her words came too late, buried beneath months of lies. And if she ever loved me, truly loved me, she wouldn't have made me dig through hotel timestamps to remember who I was. The court sided with truth. I kept the house, the car, Tyler. She left with one suitcase and didn't say goodbye. I didn't ask her to. That night, I found an old college sweatshirt, brewed coffee, and sat on the back porch as the wind pushed through the trees. No more late-night wondering, no more second-guessing texts. Just me and a quiet I'd forgotten how much I missed. I breathed in the stillness and let go of the life I used to protect with both hands. 3 years later, I was in Austin, sitting outside a sunny cafe, fingers laced with Aprils. Someone who knew me without needing to fix me. And then I saw her, Jenna, just walking by. She paused, smiled at first, then saw April, saw my hand in hers, and her smile fell. No words, no wave, just that look, the one people give when they finally realize. The door they left open behind them, it locked a long time ago.
Bye bye guys, thank you for watching.